Johan, thank you again for joining the 2023 Business Connection Summit. Today we are talking with Sarita, and we are going to be getting into the nitty and gritty of what it means to have a company that's not just a company, but also has a vision, a mission, a cause that they're supporting, and what it can mean for your company. So, welcome again. My name is Bill Marshall, and Sarita, please tell us who you are, what you do, and a little introduction into what we're going to be talking about today.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bill. My name is Sarita Johan. I am a person, I call myself the personal GPS for people in business. So I help people get from A to B, and that's anything in between. So that could be around business growth, but mainly my niche seems to be people problems, solving people problems, and in particular, getting people to who are perhaps in a promotion stage to really have them transition into that in a way that they have the skills to support them and to be successful. Now, I'm based in Australia. I'm the founder of SJ Coaching, and I've been coaching for, I would say, all of my life. But I guess in the last 15 to 20 years, I really realized that I wanted to do more for people and not just focus on one business. And hence that I took the leap of faith and threw myself into the coaching industry.
Absolutely. And I just recently did that myself, where I had been coaching for a while, but I finally did have started to make it do it full time. So it's definitely
Yeah.
exciting but nerve-wracking at the same time.
It is. It is. It's a passion that just could not be stopped. So I just had to do it.
Absolutely. And I think that fits really nicely with, what we're talking about today. And I think one of the first things I would like to do is really dive into what it means to have a company that has a passion and has a cause that they're trying to change, or a mission and a vision. What is that, and how does it play into a business?
Yes, look, if I can just give you a little bit of an insight for me where that has taken me up until now, I guess there's different ways of businesses and structures and landscapes. And I
Hmm.
guess I came from the era where profit, profit, profit was at the main focus of any business that I worked for, and even in my own businesses. And over time, that has dramatically changed. So my focus really changed from looking at, yes, we need to have a commercial viable business, but we also need to look at how we're going to get there. And that's where the people focus became so important. So my vision has really been around what can we do to impact businesses in a different way, because I know what the ripple effect is outside of that. It's not just about the people in the business. If we have a harmonious setup in our business, that will ripple out to all of our communities. So that got me to, because I love to research and explore new things, that got me into a space of how can we start using a vision? Okay, we now have a stable business. How can we do more than just making profit? And that's the space I'm finding myself in right now, where I'm helping businesses to really identify that. So, what is your purpose? Where do you want to take this? Are you looking at a legacy piece, or are you looking at selling your business? Whatever it is that you're seeking, I can help them through the frameworks that I use now, currently, which will allow people to make a greater impact in terms of social and environmental purpose. So it's very exciting because it's a very interesting time that we're heading in, and more businesses are realizing that, yes, the business is what we need, but it also needs to be more. It needs to be bigger than us.
Absolutely. And I think that the pandemic helped a lot with companies realizing that, and especially in that employee part of it, and
Mm.
realizing that the people don't necessarily want to just work there for the pay or the money that they'll make. They want to have something more that they're going to be associated with, and that association, especially with the younger and younger people who are entering the workforce or workplace, to that's more and more of what they're looking for. And I think that companies really need to take it to heart. Whether you're a small entrepreneur looking to hire one person, or a bigger company hiring teams, it all comes together. And I think that my next question would be that now that we know that we need this, and that we know we need to build this environment and have these ideals, how do we start putting things like this together? Like where do we even begin?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Look, I partnered up with a global movement called B Corp, and I became a B consultant. I've been watching them for years. It's actually originates from the US, where three guys got together and said there must be a better way. And we're talking about 30 years ago. So it's not a new phenomenon. I
Hmm.
guess what happened, it took a while for it to take off in particular into Australia. But the concept is really around how can we be, as a business, performing at the highest standard possible. So it's a little bit like if you compare it to ISO 9002, like a certification. So how can we make sure that these people are actually running an ethical business, as well as transparency, look after their workers, have a really good supply chain, and also make sure that they do contribute to a community. So the framework that they created, which is anybody can take the assessment to actually explore, and it gives them a really good insight of things that they might not have considered that will come up and go like, oh, these are some areas that we are not doing, or these are some areas that we're doing really well. Now, there are many other organizations that provide something that people can take on, and there's a lot of businesses that are silently already doing great things. But that is a really great starting point to just take an assessment and look at where are we at as a business and where could we get to. And what it then does, it engages your workforce. And it's interesting, studies have shown recently and over the years, and it's just increasing the buyer's decision making. So what will people buy? Who will people buy from?
Hmm.
So businesses like Patagonia, more recent, Rip Curl, those are the Unilever, those are now becoming the leaders in that space and saying, hey, this is what we can do. But it is also possible for smaller businesses. And I think that's often the problem. We don't feel that if we're small, we can make an impact, but everybody can make an impact. You just have to make a start and have that vision clear and your purpose on why you want to engage in that, and not just for a tick box exercise. I think that's the main thing.
Absolutely. And those deeper connections and those deeper associations with our business, it really helps us understand that like the business is alive, and it takes,
Mm.
health checkups, it takes constant work, it takes lessons to make sure that it continues to work forward over and over again, and knowing the different things that we need to feed the company, from the finance side of it to the health of the culture around it and the way that people perceive it, really, develops that brand and the way that people see us. And when you add in the part that you just mentioned, where now the people buying are taking that stuff into account of who are you and what do you stand for and what do you do, especially with social media spreading anything out there like wildfire, it's just more and more important for companies to really have their pulse on all of that and how it works and what people are perceiving them as. So it's obviously a huge topic, but we're starting to get our mission and our vision out there. We're starting to see some of the ways that it impacts us. So to phrase the question, like it's probably going to be not the best question, but you'll get what I'm saying. And like, what are things we can do to, put our brain, our vision and our mission out there and who we stand for correctly? And what are some strategies that you see working?
Okay. Firstly, I want to sort of prephrase the correctly, because it's going to be different for everybody,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's every business is uniquely different, as you and I both know and
Yeah.
experience on a day-to-day basis. So I guess it's that the first three things are important: to know what you stand for. And some of those strategies that I use with my clients is to really have a think tank type of setup where we get together, because often what happens, businesses start in a certain way, and it's almost like they've got this purpose and mission statement and vision statement, but it's collecting dust. It actually, they've evolved. It doesn't apply as much anymore. People are disconnected from it, and the ripple effect is huge. So I guess it's a regular check-in to make sure, and it's the same with core values, right? People have core values and they put it up on the walls, but nobody adheres to it, or the client doesn't
Hmm.
experience those core values at all.
Yeah.
So it's about how do we make that part of our day-to-day conversation and not a one-off event where once a year we get together and we start talking strategy. How do we make it so, I guess back to your question, what are some things that you could be doing? It is to make it part of your continuous improvement cycle. Have a quarterly, depending on your size of the business, or a monthly catch up where part of the agenda is what are we doing? Are we still on mission? And is our vision still the same? And are we still on purpose? And not have it as a separate item. And I think that's the thing that I see the most with clients when I start working with them. It's and instead of it's a whole.
Absolutely. And it's so easy to have a lot of these different things fall to the back of like the
Mm,
agenda or the mind or the business in general when you have so many things going on day to day, whether it's the sales or the operations or something's not going the way it is. So it's continually more and more important to give it that same priority. And I think that's where a
mm,
lot of companies fail when it comes to this part of it because it doesn't have the same priority for them as other pieces. The sales might be going down and you put more priority in the sales, but it could be that this part you're missing and not putting your priority on is the reason you're having trouble. So,
totally.
you know,
Yeah,
I,
totally. As you were saying that, I was going like, but this is the thing. It's like framing things up at the start. The return could be so much greater than you can actually be proactive instead of reactive. And I do know that sometimes it sounds very idealistic what I talk about, but on the other hand, it's not as difficult if we do small bits every time versus making it such a big deal. And then it's overwhelming, and then we see all the gaps rather
yeah,
than going like, if we incorporate this as our 90-day plan for the next 3 months, then this will give us the results.
yeah. And I think that, when it comes to seeing the results that can come around from things like this, you look at companies like Subaru, where their whole message is built around being safe and taking care of yourself. And with Microsoft, it's not so much the company, but the guy who created it. He has a foundation trying to heal, solve different big world problems. Like those associations carry over, and it does make a difference in why people
Mm,
buy it. I know quite a few people who bought a Subaru because of the causes that they support, not just because
mm.
it was a Subaru. So,
So, yeah.
um, what I want to kind of ask next is what are some results that we're seeing? What are some examples besides those two that, we can look at and be like, okay, I see what you're talking about.
Look, there's a whole range. If I would encourage people just to even have a look at the B Corp community and what type of businesses are there and what their causes are and why they've decided to move like that. There are currently businesses that I work with from really small to, let's say, 9 people to 40, 50. So I play in that small medium space, who are just, they've always been doing great things. And now they just want to have that, I guess, community certification and validation of the good work that they're doing. And this is really interesting because those companies that do it really well, it's like they breathe and live it. I actually don't have to go in there and tell them that they need to do stuff. What I generally help them with is to get the messaging right and the communication piece of how do we keep people engaged? And because it's a long process, how do we weave them through it? So I would, as a starting point, go there just to have a look at who are those businesses and what are their courses. And that might draw inspiration for yourself as a business owner, where you don't have to be certified, but even using the framework to how you can better improve your business so that you can do stuff like Microsoft has done. One of my current clients, they're an extreme a mountain sport company. They've been carbon neutral since, I believe, 2007. This was way before this became a real thing. So, but their courses are incredible. And they actually struggled when I said to them, hey, why don't we put it out there that you're doing all this great stuff? They went like, oh, we feel a bit uncomfortable with that. But the reality is you're doing good stuff and that will inspire and motivate others. And I think that's the big thing in this community as well. It's then connecting with other peers, learning from each other. There's a real generous community of people giving away things. So I've created something for my business, you can use it. It's a complete different way of doing business. And I think people are yearning for that. They just don't know where to find it. And it's not like it's not as sexy maybe as some other business models that are out there.
Absolutely. And it's really awesome to see those differences and the changes in the way that the businesses are trying to get out there and be perceived. And I think that one question that comes up from the things you were talking about is how do we how do we start getting the image out there in that exact example where they were doing something for a long time, but they never thought of actually putting it out there. So for the people who've never even thought about talking about stuff that they just do naturally, how do we get comfortable with putting it out there? Why should we put it out there? And, you know, what are different results that we could see from that?
That's a good one. I think a lot of it has to do, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, has to do with the imposter syndrome. In Australia, we call the poppy syndrome, where you can't be too big, too great because of the feedback that you might receive. And I think that stops a lot of businesses. And for some people, it's just really natural. They don't feel they have to put it out there. They feel actually incongruent with that. My take on it is be who you are as a business and start playing with those concepts. But it's the ongoing learning, right? If you don't go out there and explore what else is there and you're just in your own cocoon, you're not going to find all these great other businesses that are doing. And again, it's a motivational and inspiring thing. We don't know everything as a business owner. So the more we go out there and explore and look at different models, hey, this one might work for you, this one might not, but you can take things away from it. And what it does, what I've seen happen so clearly, it motivates people. Yes, they have a job. Yes, they get a paycheck. But if they get a role in that partnership that you're creating, it changes everything. People feel on purpose. And I do want to specify that this is not an easy process because it involves a lot of change. But it's a worthwhile process for your business and a worthwhile process for the people in your business. People retention is a big thing. We all know that there's shortage of skills. So again, it's about you as a business owner being curious and go like, what else can I do outside of what I've already got? What else is out there? Staying curious.
Absolutely. And I think that really brings what we're talking about kind of full circle, where these are the different things that will come about from this piece. And the importance of it is just, it can be mentioned in so many ways, from retention of employees, like you're saying, and getting your brand out there, making more sales. There's so many different benefits that come from it. And you're really just going to be left behind if you don't take it to heart, especially with the way that the new way that the businesses have to put themselves out there. To kind of wrap it into a final bow, are there any other comments or anything that you think we should mention before we finish this piece?
Look, I think as business owners, we know the saying, if you don't develop, you don't grow, you die if you don't have sales and all those type of things. But I think we can look at in another perspective. If we look at emotional intelligence, for instance, or soft skills that we've been talking about for years, and that was sort of disregarded because, IQ over EQ was more important. I think as a business, you cannot afford not to look into this sort of movement that is happening. And if you don't have the answers, perhaps it's a conversation starter within your business to say, hey, what else can we do? Get the feedback, get people to come to you with some ideas and start the process. Start looking at, maybe start small, maybe start joining a local movement of things that people are passionate about and start there. And then start looking at, hey, how does it impact our engagement? You need to know, obviously, in your business what your levers are. But just make a start. I guess that's the main thing. Don't sit back and go like, oh, I'm not going to make an impact. It's not going to make a difference if I do A, B, or C. Just start somewhere. And then the ripple effect will be huge. And other opportunities will come on your path as a business owner, and your people will be better for it. and your clients, of course. That's the ultimate success.
Absolutely, I completely agree. Sarita, thank you so much for doing this great interview with us. How can people get a hold of you?
So people can find me. There's two ways. You can listen to my podcast, which is broadcasted weekly through the ibgr.network, and it's called Build Your Core. You can type that into any of the platforms and it will pop up. Or you can find me on sjcoaching.com.au. That's my website. And if you feel like a chat, you can email me on SaritaJ, which is SARITAJ, at sjcoaching.com.au. Or any of the other normal channels, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm active on those two as well.
Awesome. And thank you again for diving into all these different pieces. So everyone, thank you so much for watching another great interview from the 2023 Business Connection Summit. I again am Bill Marshall, and we will see you all in the networking event tonight. Talk to you soon. Bye.